Namaskaram to all viewers of Jyotirmark. Dear viewers, Shishupala, the king of Chedi, did not approve Krishna being chosen as the first and foremost to receive Arghya in that concluding ceremony of Rajasuya Yagna. Shishupala said, O Yudhishtira, look at this assembly. Endless number of great and illustrious kings, rulers and monarchs of name and fame are present here. Vasudeva Krishna being seated among them is improper as he is not even a king. So how can you ignore all these great kings and choose this Krishna of Vrishni race for receiving the first Arghya? Hence, O Yudhishtira, with your act of ignorance or giving preference to your own friends and relatives, you have insulted others who are present here in this great assembly. O Pandavas, you are still very young and hence you are not aware of the intricacies and complexities of dharma. And this Gangaputra Bhishma here has displayed his ignorance of dharma by giving wrong advice to the Pandavas to offer the first Arghya to Vasudeva Krishna. O Bhishma, you are respected for your knowledge, wisdom and experiences of a very long life because you are blessed with the boon of Swachhanda Mrityu, whereby even death cannot approach you without your permission. But today, notwithstanding all your credentials, you have shown the world how even a respected individual like you will be despised and condemned. Because your personal interests and preferences have influenced and taken over your thoughts, opinions and judgment. Compared to others who are present here today, on what grounds is that Dasharha eligible for the first and foremost worship? Have you taken age as a criterion? If so, seated next to him is his father Vasudeva, who is much more older than him. If you have taken him as a well-wisher of the Pandavas, how is Krishna eligible when the Panchala king Drupada is here? If you give him respect as an Acharya or Guru, who is the greater than this Dronacharya? If you have considered him as a Ritvik, then the first and foremost is Rishi Vedavyasa. O Bhishma, you are the one and only individual in this world with the Vardhan of Swachhanda Mrityu. Even death has to seek your permission to approach you. Then, how is Krishna worthy of being worshipped ahead of you? Then there are others like brave Ashwatthama, well versed in all Shastras and Vedas and unmatched in Dhanurveda. Duryodhan, the scion of the Kuru dynasty, the great preceptor Krupacharya, Druma, who is the Acharya of the Kim Purushas, and then there are great and invincible kings like Bhishmaka, Pandya, Rukmi, Shalya and Suryaputra Karna. Once again, addressing Yudhishtira, Shishupala said, Krishna is neither a king nor a guru or a sacrificial priest. Still, O Pandaputra, you have superseded all other greats who are present here and worship this son of Vasudeva. O Yudhishtira, if it was your wish, and if you had already decided to offer the first worship to Krishna, then why did you invite and insult all these kings and rulers to this inner chamber to witness your act of selfishness? Many of us here have paid you tributes not because we were afraid of you, but because you are the just and virtuous Dharmaputra. And we thought that you really deserve to perform this auspicious Mahayagna which takes place only once in several centuries. We believe you have all the virtues and qualities required to be elevated to the status of a Samrat. But then you have proved us wrong by offering the first worship to this Krishna, who was instrumental in slaying the mighty king Jarasandha through deceit. Thereafter, Shishupala in his rage and fury turned to Krishna and said, O Krishna, you know you don't deserve this worship, so you could have refused to accept it. Thereafter, at the heights of his anger, Shishupala burst out saying that Krishna's accepting the first worship was like the wedding of an impotent man, or like a dog eating the remains of the havis of a sacrifice, or like a lamp being lighted for a blind man. Inviting other kings to join him, Shishupala then started to walk out of that assembly. Thereupon, getting up from his seat, Yudhishtira went after Shishupala and tried to pacify him. But Shishupala was not ready to listen and refused to return to his seat. Thereupon, addressing Yudhishtira, Bhishma said that his efforts to convince Shishupala is a waste of time. There is no point in enlightening the one who has not yet realized that Krishna is the ancient soul and the Lord of all three worlds. being there right from the beginning, his age is beyond numbers. Having defeated many Kshatriyas and having set many of them free, Krishna is a Guru. And in him rests the knowledge of all Vedas and beyond also. Sometimes it is difficult to distinguish between the right and the wrong in very trivial issues also. But Vasudeva Krishna is always true and right in his thoughts and judgments because he himself is the ever-glowing and infinite flame of truth. Knowledge, physical might and age are the factors which demand and deserve worship. In all this, Krishna is the divine personification, and that is the reason why Krishna is the one who deserves to be worshipped first and foremost. Shishupala doesn't know about all these things because he is nothing but an ignorant child. Like this, after elaborating the greatness of Krishna, Bhishma concluded by saying that if Shishupala doesn't agree with his views, the Chedi king can do what he deemed fit to do. Thereupon, the mighty Sahadeva came forward and addressed that assembly. Taking a tough stand with one leg lifted up, Sahadeva said, "If any king present here is of the opinion that it was improper to offer the first worship to Krishna, I am putting this lifted leg of mine on his head." When Sahadeva concluded his words, there was Pushpa Vrishti or showering of flowers from the skies on him, and these words, well said, echoed all around that place. At this point, Devarshi Narada got up from his seat and said that those who do not worship the lotus-eyed Krishna are as good as dead. Thereupon, Shishupala addressed those kings who were assembled there and invited them to his side to start a riot against the Pandavas. When Shishupala repeatedly incited those kings, saying that the Pandavas have insulted them all by worshipping Krishna, they also got carried away by his words, and like a raging ocean, they all joined together and made preparations to fight against Krishna and the Pandavas. Thereupon, Yudhishtira approached Bhishma and asked him for his advice. Bhishma told Yudhishtira to stay cool and said that the dog cannot slay the lion, and that Shishupala is behaving like this because Krishna wanted him to do so. When Krishna wants to take anyone into himself, then that individual loses his mind and mindset like this mad king of Chedi. Listening to the words of Bhishma, Shishupala in his rage and fury called him an old and worn-out transgender who doesn't have the right to advise others. Shishupala then censured Bhishma for forcefully bringing 3 daughters of Kashi king from their Swayamvara for marriage with Vichitravirya, who was his stepbrother. They were Amba, Ambika and Ambaliga. Amba was in love with another king, but she had not disclosed it to anyone. At Hastinapur, she told Bhishma about it, and as desired by her, Bhishma sent her back to her lover King Shalva with respect and royal escort. But King Shalva didn't accept her as she had been captured and taken away by Bhishma. Back at Hastinapur, Amba asked Bhishma to marry her, but Bhishma, who was under the vow of Brahmacharya, refused to do that. Again, Shishupala insulted Bhishma, saying that he didn't accept Amba because he was impotent. Shishupala also ridiculed Krishna, recounting the names of all asuras whom he had slain in Vrindavan, like Putana, Trinavarta, Bakasura and Aghasura. And he despised Krishna for slaying Kamsa, saying that no one has the right to fight and kill the one who is his Annadada or the one who provides him with his daily food. Kamsa was no Annadada, as he had been torturing his subjects in different ways, especially so by imposing high rates of tax for milk and other dairy products. Thereafter, when Shishupala insulted Bhishma repeatedly, Bhimsena got up from his seat and, blood-red with anger, went towards Shishupala. But Bhishma held him tight in his grip and didn't allow Bhim to confront Shishupala. Meanwhile, Shishupala mocked Bhim and Bhishma and asked Bhishma to allow Bhim to fight with him. Shishupala also said that in front of all those kings, he will show how Bhim will get fried like a cockroach in the fire of his might and anger. Then Bhishma spoke in a loud and clear tone to Bhim and all others who had assembled there. Bhishma said, "This Shishupala was born as the son of King Damaghosha of Chedi. His mother Shrudashrava is Kundi's sister, and as such, he is a cousin of the Pandavas and Vasudeva Krishna. Shishupala was born with 3 eyes and 4 hands, and he screamed and brayed like a donkey at the time of his birth. Because of his distortions and other bad omens, his parents got frightened. They summoned their elders, ministers, and priests, and they all together decided to abandon that child. But then a voice was heard from the skies like, "This baby is destined to grow up and become strong, powerful, and famous, and that his time of death has not yet arrived, and that the one who will slay him with his weapon has already been born." So the voice said, "Do not get frightened, but take care of him." Thereupon his mother spoke like this with joined palms. "Whoever has spoken to me about my son, I bow to you. Please be kind and tell me, at whose hands will my son die? Is he a mortal or a deva?" Thereupon that celestial voice continued like this, "At whose sight his third eye on his forehead will disappear, and when placed on whose lap his pair of extra hands will fall down like the hood of a five-headed snake. At his hand will come the death of your son." The news of his birth got spread very fast, and many kings came to see that extraordinary child. The king of Chedi received and welcomed them all with great hospitality, and then placed that child in the lap of each and every one of them. But the extra eye and the pair of hands remained like that only. Then one day, Vasudeva Krishna with his brother Balarama went to visit their father's sister, Queen Shrudashrava, and her baby, who was born with a lot of specialities. The king and the queen welcomed them also with lots of love and respect. Later, they placed their son in Krishna's lap, whereupon the third eye of the baby disappeared, and the pair of extra hands got detached from the body and fell on the floor. Then the queen addressed Krishna with joined palms and asked him for a boon. Krishna told her not to worry and asked what exactly she wanted from him. The queen then begged Krishna for the boon that he would forgive her son for his mistakes. Krishna consoled his aunt and promised her that he will forgive him 100 times, even if he commits mistakes for which he deserves to be slain. "O Bhim," said Bhishma, "this is why Shishupala is inviting you to fight with him. He is aware that you are not the one at whose hands he is destined to die, and also that he believes that Krishna will forgive him for a very long time. Otherwise," asked Bhishma, "who in this world other than this foolish king of Chedi will dare to insult me like how he has done today? There is an energy in him which is a part of Hari, which Krishna has decided to take back today. That is the reason for his behaving like a madman who is unaware of the consequences of his own words and actions." Now, unable to bear it anymore, Shishupala asked Bhishma, "You say my might is derived from Krishna? Bhishma, you are nothing but a professional sycophant. You wish to keep on praising someone as if it is the purpose of your life. In that case, why don't you praise any of the real greats who are seated in this assembly, like the Balhika king, for when he was born, the earth is said to have got divided into two parts. Or look at Karna, who is the king of Anga and Vanga, who was born with a celestial armor and earrings. He had defeated the mighty Jarasandha in duel, and without doubt, he deserves praise and worship over and above Vasudeva Krishna. And don't you see Guru Drona seated over there with his son Ashwatthama? Each of them, if provoked, are said to be individually capable of reducing this earth itself into ashes." Like that, Shishupala named several other kings who were seated in that assembly and who, according to him, were worthy of worship well ahead of Vasudeva Krishna. Shishupala said that it is because of their mercy that Bhishma is still alive and praising Krishna, to which Bhishma replied that if any of those kings also felt like that, let them challenge Krishna and prove themselves. On hearing this, Shishupala came forward and challenged Krishna to fight with him. He said that he will finish off Krishna along with all the Pandavas on that same day. Thereupon, Krishna stepped forward and addressed that assembly like this: "O kings, Shishupala is my father's sister's son. He is so wicked-minded that when he came to know that we were on a trip to Pragjyodisha, he tried his best to put fire to Dwaraka and to destroy it as much as possible. When my father attempted to perform the Ashwamedha Yaga, this Shishupala stole that horse of the Yaga and tried his best to obstruct that Yaga. While Bhadra, the Vaishala princess, was observing Vrat for her marriage with the Karusha king, Shishupala disguised himself as the Karusha king and abducted Princess Bhadra. And then this wretch tried his best to obtain Rukmini and failed in that also. One way or other, he was causing harm to others all during his life. Now you are all witness to his rude conduct, and you know how much insults he has showered on me, Bhishma, and the Pandavas. All of you present here had been peacefully and patiently participating in this Mahayagna, when this Shishupala alone have been trying to corrupt it. Listening to the words of Krishna, the kings of that assembly despised and rebuked Shishupala for his wrongdoings. But Shishupala didn't care about the reactions of those kings. Laughing aloud, he asked Krishna if he is not ashamed of speaking about his own wife in an assembly like this. And then he said, "You forgive or don't forgive me, I don't care. Angry or friendly, what can you do about that?" While Shishupala was still asking that question, like 1,000 suns rising at the same time, that cosmic disk, Sudarshana Chakra, was seen resting at Krishna's fingertip. Krishna said, "O kings, till today I had forgiven Shishupala because his mother had begged me for his life, and I had promised his mother that I shall forgive him 100 times. Today he has crossed that limit. So with you all as witness, Shishupala will be punished for his sins." Having said that, Krishna hurled that chakra at Shishupala, which cut his head off from his body, whereupon Shishupala fell down like a cliff being detached from the mountain. Then all those kings and rishis who were present there witnessed a radiance like the flame of a lamp emerging from the body of that dead king. That flame moved towards Krishna and entered and merged with the body of that Lord of the universe. There were mixed reactions from the assembly of kings and monarchs, but the wise and all-knowing rishis and saints who were present there approved it and showered blessings on Krishna. Yudhishtira then asked his brothers to perform Shishupala's after-death rites and thereafter installed Shishupala's son as the king of Chedi in the presence of all those kings and rulers. Rajasuya Mahayagna then concluded in all its auspiciousness with Krishna standing guard with his chakra, bow named Saranga, and his mace by name Kaumodagi. After his bath in the holy water, when they were all settled happily, all the kings, monarchs and rulers approached Yudhishtira and addressed him with great respect. They said, "O King of Kings, with good luck and fortune, you have been able to perform this Mahayagna successfully. You have worshipped us to the full extent of our satisfaction, and now we all wish to return to our own kingdoms, for which we seek your permission." Yudhishtira agreed to that and allowed them to depart. Meanwhile, Yudhishtira asked his brothers to accompany each king till the borders of Indraprastha, which made those kings also very happy. Finally, Krishna also wanted to take leave of the Pandavas. Yudhishtira thanked Krishna at length and said that without his presence and blessings, Yudhishtira would never have been able to undertake and perform the Rajasuya Mahayagna like this. Yudhishtira and his brothers then walked behind Krishna's chariot for a long distance. Finally, stopping the chariot, Krishna approached the Pandavas and requested them to return to their palace. Thus, by virtue of performing the Rajasuya Mahayagna successfully, Yudhishtira was now elevated to the status of Samrat. Moreover, his treasury and reserves were full once again with the tributes and gifts received from all those kings who had participated in that Mahayagna. Even after the departure of all kings and rulers, Duryodhan and Shaguni stayed at Indraprastha for many more days. Dear viewers, here ends this chapter of our summarized rendering of Rishi Vedavyasa's timeless epic Mahabharata. Harihi Om.